Hi, I'm Dave Roberts and this is Angling Escapades. Hi there, and a festive welcome to Angling Escapades on the riverbank once again. You join me, Dave Roberts, and Santa's little cocker, Monty, for our Christmas special. Now, I have to say for this, I've really taken a bit of a gamble today. I've come to a peg which I wouldn't normally come to in the winter really that much because it's a long old walk. I've walked about a mile today to get here, and but the thinking behind it is, as you can see behind me, we've got this backwater here, and as we've so often done in these wet times in the last few months, is finding the slacks when we've got high water. Today the river's carrying about 2.3 meters of extra water. It's been higher than this, but the river's been so up and down. I've just got a feeling that because this is a natural backwater all the time, it doesn't just develop when it's high water. I've got a feeling that any fish in the area have probably been used to coming in and out of here as the river's flooded, and I think we've got a chance of catching some fish. I mean, it's hard conditions. I mean, it was a hard frost last night. I say we've got cold water coming off the mountains, snow water, so we'll be up against it. But I just figured if I was going to come somewhere and maybe catch a few fish, I'm not putting any expectations on what I catch, what species. I'm simply going to give myself a chance of catching everything, really. So I'm going to set some gear up, and then I'll show you my approach and how I'm going to approach this particular part of the water and this nice slack water here. So we'll get some gear set up and we'll get started. Okay, so we're all set up, ready to go. So I'm going to show you what I've set up now and what I'm going to feed, how I'm going to feed it. Before I do, just remember, at the end of this film, we're going to be giving you the details of a great competition which could see you fishing this river with me on a day out, all expenses paid, on a very exclusive private stretch of water. So keep watching and look out for that at the end. So what I've set up, first thing is a feeder. Now, as it goes colder, I tend to use ground bait less and less for my barbel fishing and chub fishing and what have you, but because we've got coloured conditions, you know, and the river's still quite dirty, I'm going to use some ground bait today. So I've got my normal, my normal method mix that I use for my barbel, and I've got that mixed up, and I'm going to put some hemp and a few pellets in there, maybe a few casters, and fish on the basis of smell. You know, get a feed. It's not the biggest feeder. I usually use bigger feeders than that, but just to get some smell out there. And then I'm just going to fish. I've got a nice long hook length, and I'm just going to fish like sort of 4 or 5 maggots on a size 12. You know, and then I give them a chance of a bite off everything. Then I've got meat with me, I've got everything, I've got all the usual baits to try, but I feel like a bunch of maggots with some ground bait just to put some flavour in to start with is probably going to be the best starting method. And then I've set up in this nice, and I'm going to fish that, I'm going to fish that out into the flow, so it'll hit the flow, hit the bottom. I've got a decent amount of lead on there, and that will hit the bottom. And then because we've got this slack water in front of us, we actually don't need a lot of lead to hold bottom because the line is dropping into the slacker water, so we should be holding fine. But I still want to cast that out into the faster water if I can, just to sort of draw fish in, because any feeding fish will be moving in and out of the slack and the flow. But so that's my feeder set up. And on the inside, on this slack bit, I've just set up a long whip, and I've set it up. I've got a 4 gram round bodied float on here. I've got a grey hydro elastic. I've got a 4 gram round bodied float, just shotted with a bulk of shots, and I've only got one number 8 dropper down, and the reason for that is I'm going to fish worms on this line. I'm going to bait dropper some worms, maybe loose feed a little bit of caster, and I'm going to let the weight of the hook bait of the worm sort of sink itself and bob around a bit, because there's not much flow here, and 4 gram just sort of like it trundles through, then it stops and I can hold it still. And I'm going to be searching, you know, and really sort of try and move the hook bait about, and you know, if there's any fish there feeding, get it into their mouth. So quite a simple setup, but I've got a chance of catching, by fishing worms, I've got a chance of catching everything that swims, and you know, whether it be a chub, a barbel, or anything else, I really don't know what to expect. So first thing I'm going to do is put a bait dropper full of chopped worms out there. I already chopped some worms, dendras and lobworms, so there's lots of smell, lots of attractant there, and I'm just going to put one bait dropper of worm in, and nothing else. I'm just going to, you know, I'm not going to loose feed lots. I'm just going to trickle a little bit of caster over the top, just to keep some bait moving around in this slack water. So again, it's just a case of picking a spot, swinging it out, lowering it down, bait comes out, job done. And you know, on a peg like this, where I don't expect to see lots of small fish or whatever, and that's enough, you know, just to get some bait down now. And we'll leave that while we fish the feeder for however long, but and I can always top it up if I need. But that's all I'll do then. A few casters, not many, just all, you know, all over the place, just in one place, but you know, not tight feeding with the casters, because those will drift around and hopefully seek out a few fish that are maybe muching around looking for food. So as I say, start on the feeder. My starting bait, as ever, my favourite, 5 red maggots on a size 12, a babby's hand, and that should get me, you know, any fish that's wanting to open its mouth, no matter what, whether it's coarse fish or whatever, they'll all eat 5 maggots. There we go, so 5 maggots on a 12. Nice big bait that they can seek out. And then I've got in my ground bait, as I say, I've got some pellets and some meat and a few casters and plenty of hemp in there. It's a proper little goodie bag, just lots of different flavours in there really, that you know, any fish been used to seeing these baits recently, there'll be something there, a smell that might just trigger them into coming and having a feed. So as I say, casting, really just a sideways lob just out into the flow. Let that hit the bottom, feel it down, bump, there you go. And I know it's reasonably clear here, this is actually a really snaggy peg when you go out, when it's on lower water conditions. But on this height it's just right, and there's not a lot of pull on the tip there. That's nice, because it's obviously your line is dropping into slack water. So as normal with this method, I do like to, you know, I'll leave that out there for a while. I won't just sort of, I'm not trying to build up a peg as you know, as we do sometimes in the past. In this instance, I want to just leave that parcel of ground bait in that feeder out there and see what comes and finds it. Keep loose feeding a bit of caster on our inside. One thing I have noticed since I've stopped, you know, since I've got here, and after my mammoth walk where I was virtually sweating, I've noticed how cold it actually is. It feels actually, it's clouded over. We had a frost last night, it's clouded over now. It feels like it could even snow, which would be very festive. So everything's, you know, nothing's pointing towards an amazing day's fishing. So I think the first target has got to be getting a bite. It's funny where you get boils like this in the water, you do get some funny indications on the tip, which sometimes you'd swear were a bite, but it's usually just a leaf or something that's caught the line and is bobbing around in the funny little boils and stuff. Well, I've had about an hour on the feeder now, and I haven't had a bite, which I'm not completely surprised by, if I'm honest. It's the water's very cold, and I'm checking out into the fast water where, you know, those fish would have to be out feeding properly if they were out there. So you know, maybe not what you'd expect. Now the water's so cold, you know, these barbel probably tend to be like nested up in little pockets, and probably sitting quite tight and only feeding when there's a rise in water temperature and things like that. So I'm not wholly surprised I haven't had a bite on that. And there's other things I can try. I can go back and try meat feeder, maggot feeder, lots of different variations. But what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to have a go on that whip line, because I put that dropper of worms in. I haven't been on it since, so I'm going to drop it in and have a look. So I'm just going to start on half a dendra. I'm just going to swing this out and let it bob around. Just have a little search around, see if there's anything about. So again, I'll just swing it out past where I fed earlier, and just let what current there is drift it in. But it really is, fishing this way is it's a searching way, you know, you're searching the peg out. Keep loose feeding a little bit casted as well, just to keep some bait floating around the backwater. I love these sorts of pegs where it just, you know, the flow generally never goes in one direction, it keeps moving around, or it will sit still for a while, and the float's sort of dragging under occasionally. It just keeps you a very interesting way of fishing. Go down the peg a little bit and just search out down there. No, nothing doing that, so we'll just swing it out again. It's such a calm piece of water. You just feel there should be fish in here. I think the biggest thing that we're up against is the water temperature. I've been fishing about half an hour now on this whip with, you know, bobbing a worm around, and it's I've not had a bite, and but it's a lovely way of fishing, and I do feel like there's a bite here for me at some point. So I'm just going to feed another dropper of worm and just put a bit more in. I'm not giving up on it yet. It just feels like, you know, I feel like in this expanse of water here, in all this flat water, there's got to be a bite, there's got to be a fish here. So I'm not giving up on it yet. I'll put a pinch of worm in that time, just to keep the flavour going in. But I say, really, I think it's about searching out, you know, just letting this float bob around and letting half a lobworm just search its way around this backwater. I just feel at some point I'm going to get a bite. Still positive. Well, incredibly, I've had a bite. I was sat here thinking a blank was definitely on the cards. And the sun just poked out through the sky. Suddenly everything just felt right for a minute. And I've got a fish on here, I don't know what it is. But it's a fish. Chub. There you go. Not the biggest chub we've caught this season, but a chub. I'm happy with that fish. I thought I was on for a blank. Got a bit of worm inside him as well, so he's been on the munch. A little mark on his side as well. Obviously, someone's had a little peck at him. Yeah, mark on the other side as well. That looks like a cormorant. Something's had him either side there and there. But he saved our blank. Even got a little chunk missing out of his tail. Look. Had a rough time of it, he has, hasn't he? He's just been caught by me. But anyway, he's made me a happy man because I thought we were on for a blank. So there you go. Just goes to show, doesn't it? We've been fishing 2.5 hours and I was thinking about abandoning ship and giving up, and we've had a bite. So, see if we can catch another one now. Alright, Mons. Yeah. Oh dear. Well, I have no idea what footage I've got of that because the one camera's just run out of battery. I don't know whether you can see that very well. That's a big old chub, that is. And you know, I just flicked a piece of meat on there. I just had a few pieces of meat set up, you know, from me barbel fishing. And I've been flicking an odd piece in. I thought I'll just have a go on the meat. And once again, and not for the last time or the first time this season, the meat has got me a bite. That's a proper chub, that is. Look at the state of that. Fantastic. Now, as you can see, the mist started rolling in and it's gone a bit colder now, and I don't really fancy being down here much longer, so I think I'm going to end on that fish. Me and Monty looks miserable, so me and Monty are going to head back to the office somewhere a bit warmer, where we'll have some details of a interesting competition, and also I might show you a few little outtakes from our little escapades this year. So we'll get packed up here and you enjoy these. Okay, back in the office now. Sorry, Christmas special. Yeah, so that was a bit of a toughie, that one, but quite rewarding. You know what I mean? It was all everything was pointing towards a blank, and then a couple of chub right in the day, and yeah, saved the day really. So yeah, really quite enjoyable in a way, but not our most prolific day on the bank this year. But yeah, I was coming back to the office and I was just been hugging the heater for about 5 minutes. I'm frozen. I was hoping to come back to a nice bottle of beer and a luxury mince pie, but I've ended up with porridge, jam and a cup of tea because it's so cold. Oh, and Monty's got his cocktail sauce as well. Come on, in you boy. Up. Good boy. Okay, so now I did say we would have some outtakes for you. Now, unfortunately, the file that the outtakes are on, and believe me, there's plenty, is on a hard drive that's not working at the moment. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with that, but I will find it. I'll see if I can retrieve them. It's probably as well for me because there's lots of outtakes on there where I'm just making a complete prat of myself, but that kind of goes in line with, you know, what we do ultimately. As I always say to people, it's me and 2 GoPros, and it's never going to be a professional production. It's just me doing my best with the resources I've got. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of outtakes in the future, and but I say that's what we're, you know, that's what we do, and it's like I say, we don't make any false promises, but it does seem to be popular. So so I haven't got the outtakes, but what I did promise you was a competition. Now, this is a competition basically for someone to become the star of one of these vlogs. So what you are aiming to win is a day out with myself where everything will be provided, equipment, bait, whatever you need. I'll even throw in breakfast, and we'll be taking you to an exclusively private stretch of the River Wye. There'll be no one else on the stretch, hopefully when it warms up a bit, and hopefully we can have a good day's fishing. But we'll film it all, and then we can sort of, like, you know, show people what goes into a day out with myself on the river and what we do with Angling Escapades. So that's the prize, and I think that will be popular. So how you win this prize is quite simple. You need to go back to Facebook. I know not everyone's on Facebook, but most people are. So go back to our Angling Escapades Facebook page. Find the post about this Christmas special. It'll say Christmas special, and what you need to do is you need to like that post, you need to share that post, and you need to tag a friend in on it. Okay, and the people who do that, their names will be put into a hat, and we'll draw one out. I think we're going to do it on New Year's Day, and say the name we draw out will be coming for a day out with us, all free of charge. So hopefully that'll be popular, and so if you can just do that on Facebook, that'll give you a chance of winning that prize. So what I will do, I say I haven't got the outtakes for you, but what I will do is I've just put a collection of some of my favourite photographs from the year that's passed, and I'm just a little collection of that. So I'm going to eat my porridge, and you can enjoy these while I'm doing that. So there you go, lovely little collection there. Got real nostalgic putting that together. We've had a wonderful year. We've met some brilliant people, and there's no finer environment to meet new people than the Wye Valley. It's just a beautiful place to live and work, and I say hopefully we'll do more of the same next year. So really, I just want to sort of finish by saying thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the people who subscribed to this channel. It's not something I ever imagined doing. It was, you know, it was my good friend Tom Scully who suggested I did a weekly vlog, and it was just going to be about river conditions and information. And we sort of, you know, I looked at it and thought, well, surely we can get some fishing action in, and that's how it's evolved, as you can see. And you know, yes, it's very amateur at times, but we generally get our story across, and we get, as you know, our footage is getting better. So, and the feedback I get when I go on the bank is brilliant. People are just so lovely, and you know, and it's, you know, criticism as well. We don't mind criticism if it's constructive. You know, you always get the odd person leaving the odd bad comments at the bottom of these videos, and luckily I can laugh most of it off when it's not justified. But I appreciate the genuine feedback I get. I don't know whether you can hear that noise now. That's the rain coming down. So it looks like that river we've been on today that was dropping is going to be rising again tomorrow. It has been an incredible autumn, winter, whatever. I've never seen so much floods and rain and what have you. But we've still managed to get out, and we've enjoyed it. So, like I say, thank you to all the subscribers, thank you to all our supporters, thank you to all my guests and the people we've been out with this year. We've had an absolute blast, and so really, all I'm going to do is I'm now going to open this. And me and Monty, come here Monty, come on, up, up. There we go, me and Monty, little Montgomery here, my little mate, are going to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you all in 2020, and I hope you enjoy this this little couple of days now with family, friends, close ones, whatever. But ultimately, Merry Christmas.